Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Today we're going to be going over two new species of dinosaur that have been discovered over in the eastern United States and a pterosaur that has been discovered over in South America, and taking a look at what's going on with a shark over another part of the world. And we are streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. So let's head to the Mesozoic. And do put in any questions about prehistoric to current animals in the chat. So, from Sci News, exceptionally well preserved pterosaur fossil found in Brazil. A nearly complete skeleton of a tapijarid pterosaur that lived during the Cretaceous period was intercepted during a police raid at Santos Harbor in the Brazilian state of Sao Paulo and confiscated together with several other exceptionally well preserved fossils. This almost sounds like what was going on in South Dakota back in the 90s, maybe with Peter Larson, but that could be something else. So, yeah, I mean, referring to the tapijards in general, this is a group of pterosaurs. Wow, this is a very strange looking fellow. Um, that first evolved somewhere around 143 million years ago during the first few million years of the Cretaceous period. And many of them, it seems, were actually herbivorous and not necessarily carnivorous or piscivorous like many of the other species of asdarchids or asdorgoids in this instance, the different species of pteranodontids, the earlier rhamphorhynchids of the Cretaceous period, and even certain members of the, what is it, like ornithocheirid lineages. Or you could even say the pterodactyloides. But this is definitely a very strange fellow. I definitely have not really seen a species of pterosaur with this kind of a beak structure. Um, Wait a second. Am I confusing him with somebody else? Huh. It's mentioning a living interpretive reconstruction of Tupandactylus navigans. Well, Tupandactylus is a species of tapijarid from South America, and it lived in the region a little over 111 million years ago during the early Cretaceous. And it does seem by where this animal was discovered and also the, I think, preserved stomach contents that it was feeding on different species of fruit. So the pterosaur clade Tapijaridae was a major component of early Cretaceous continental faunas, achieving a widespread distribution in Gondwana and Eurasia, said Dr. Victor Beccari from the Universidade de Sao Paulo and the Universidade Nova de Lisboa and his colleagues. Tapijarids are characterized by their andutulous jaws and often huge cranial crests, and are sometimes inferred to have had an herbivorous diet. They were also, what?
Uh, James Cadu says hi.
Hey, pterosaur. How are the fish? So when it comes to like even tapijards earlier in theory, when it came to really their feeding behavior in many cases, and sometimes even the shape of their crests, they and well, many cases were described as being piscivorous, not really going after any species of smaller dinosaurs, really because these animals were tiny. Um, Two Pandactylus. Actually, let's look up also Tapijara. So Tapejara. Um, like these animals, like specifically for Tapijara, really didn't reach much more than probably 4 feet when it came to the entire wingspan, or pushing somewhere around 3.2 meters. Not 3.2 meters. That would be a massive tapijara. Definitely possible, especially with two pandactylus. We do have a two pandactylus specimen where it does seem the animal could probably reach somewhere around 9.8 feet in length. They're pushing exactly 3 meters. But Tapijara had the more iconic crest of the Tapijards. Also, when it comes to like even the overall plumage of
Wait,
the
wait, they're
animal.
called Tapijards, and this is Tapijara?
Yes. He's much smaller than it was depicted in the 1999 series Walking with Dinosaurs, where it looked like the animal could have had a wingspan of somewhere between 20 to 30 feet. or pushing 6 to 9 meters. I don't know what the approximate estimate of the size was, like, intended for the film. It still looked like a very good pterosaur in general. I mean, it really wasn't a bad reconstruction. But when it comes to Tapir in general, looks like this animal was fairly tiny, probably only weighing a few pounds at most, or pushing a couple of kilograms, and was likely feeding on different species of fruit. Now, it's not necessarily impossible that the animal might have occasionally gone to the coast or certain other waterways, like certain floodplains, creeks, rivers, and maybe occasionally fed on fish. It's entirely possible. But
Is
it seems like this animal
is this
was really
strange or just me?
um okay, when it comes to the claws, especially his fingers over on the upper part of the wings, yeah, I think those are a bit off. Also, the toes seem a bit long and too dinosaur-like in general.
Steven said, "Wild-looking beasts."
Yeah, this guy is a bit. He is quite off. Also, when it comes to the wing membrane towards the second half of the creature, it is far too thin. Pterosaurs, in many cases, had quite wide wing membranes, and these were also the problems with certain earlier reconstructions of the different species of pterosaurs. Really, regardless of the species, back in the even early 2000s to an extent, but especially as you head into the 1990s, 1980s, and prior and the 1800s, because we find some of the first species of pterosaurs back in the 1820s and 1830s. So they were also reconstructed or depicted in different paleo artists' um, drawings with animals like the megalosaurus and iguanodon at the time, and also different species of marine reptiles. This, I guess maybe it's another species of Tapijara
Was he
because
eating like a blue popsicle?
yeah, this is interesting with the gum line that they gave this pterosaur. I think it's because they might be basing it off of different species of birds today. They can have a wide variety of different types of coloration within the gums of their mouths themselves. And yes, these animals were toothless. It seems like this animal was just simply picking and swallowing its food. Um, Now it is depicting him though having very thin wing membranes. It's supposed to be a younger individual, but it looks full grown. Also, I do like that they're giving these pterosaurs feathers. They're just covered in, and also a very aligned sort of a plumage. So I think it looks good,
I found a picture of one that likes taking pictures.
as well as the crests. Here we go again, like that notosaur from um yesterday. Like it's just has that distinct sort of a type of a pose, saying, "Hey, you got to agree that I'm better looking than certain pteranodontids and other asdarchids, obviously." Because many of them really didn't have a crest, but also even different members of the pterodactyloid family, the rhamphorhynchids. I think the tapijards are some of the better looking pterosaurs within the whole pterosaur lineage.
This one even posed after he was dying.
Yep, that might be two Pandactylus. I don't think it. Well, okay, actually, it probably is Tapijara, considering two Pandactylus might have a bit of a more even sort of a crest structure, both on the bottom and the upper jaws. So, yeah, this is an exquisitely well preserved Tapijara specimen. So they were likely over in different forested areas of parts of Brazil, possibly even like certain areas of Uruguay, maybe even Argentina. Tapijards in general were quite abundant over in early Cretaceous and late Cretaceous South America. I think anybody or most that have heard of the Tapijards really only tend to envision them as being present within the early Cretaceous. But they were a successful lineage of pterosaurs, and they would make it into the later Cretaceous, surviving up until the very extinction of the dinosaurs around 66 million years ago. So let's head back and see what's going on with this creature. In Brazil, tapijards are among the most abundant and diverse pterosaur taxa. I mean, that's definitely not surprising. There were other lineages too, like the different species of ornithochirids, certain Very broad species of pteranodontids in the region occasionally, and possibly pterodactyloids or other as darkoids as well. So recovered from the Credo and Romualdo Lagerstätten Araripe Basin, northeastern part of the country. Yes, especially the Crate and Romualdo um, areas, like especially the formations too, are a very popular site to find these different species of pterosaurs, as well as certain other species of dinosaurs in the region too. And from the desertic environments of the
Oh,
Goya,
what?
I haven't heard of that type of word before. Desertic. Maybe I just mispronounced it. Environments of the Goyo area formation, Paranha Basin, and or of southern Brazil. So, yeah, I mean, this sounds very expected. So the newly described specimen was recovered from the early Cretaceous Crato Formation of Brazil. It belongs to a species of Tapejara pterosaur called Tupandactylus navigans. Um, well, Tupandactylus has definitely been known for some time, unless I'm mistaking him for something else and I didn't realize he popped up very recently. It could be one of those discoveries. It includes nearly the entire body, mostly intact, and even including remnants of soft tissue along the bones. Whoa, okay, that's really good to see. Wow. According to the team, it is indeed the best preserved tapejard skeleton known so far, shedding new light on the anatomy of this pterodactyloid clade. I, I'm wondering if I just didn't realize it's been discovered this recently. Yeah, this is quite astounding for Tooth itself. So, Tapijara better watch out. Whoa, that is very well preserved. And look at that crest.
Oh, I just realized that was the head.
Wait a second. Is that the crest?
Yes.
Because they weren't showing it in the picture. Maybe it's just part of the sediment?
Oh, that's the
Well, yeah, you would think so. So, why wasn't it showing it in the picture? Well, besides that, I mean, it still looks good. So I wonder if it's specifically this. Yeah, it's this animal that was somewhere around 9.8 feet or 3 meters. Also being very light in weight. It is quite interesting. I mean, it also is very likely that you had different species of pterosaurs that it coexisted with, also feeding on different species of fruit and seeds in the region. They still had to watch out for certain species of theropod dinosaurs, probably almost all of them within the region, and not get smushed by certain larger species of herbivores. Okay, let's head back to the article. I'm gonna scroll up real quick. Wait a second.
no, it hasn't.
Oh, there's the crest. Okay, I was wondering. It looked like one of his, like his wing was oddly placed. I'm like, I don't think that's physically possible. Okay, so that is his crest. Oh, it looks like I'm not sure, candy or pizza or something? Maybe a piece of cake?
Pizza without cheese.
Um, yeah, that's wrong. Okay, so let's see. This is the first time that we have been able to study more than just the skull of this species. The analysis suggests Tupandactylus navigans had a terrestrial foraging lifestyle due to its long neck. Yeah, that is something I also noticed that a quite exquisitely long neck for a tapijard. And the proportions of its limbs, as well as its large head crest that could negatively influence long distance flight. Um, that actually wasn't hitting me. I really didn't think it would cause much of a difference considering maybe it was extremely lightweight, but apparently not. At least that's the theory. And you look at a wide variety of different species of birds today that fly. Most of them that make long migrations do not have large crests. Oh, okay. So we have been focusing on pterosaurs for basically the whole time. I guess let's bring up somebody else. Maybe um Morinosaurus. I just thought I'd bring him up. It's a weird reconstruction of the Tapejara, really, because it's really the wings and even the front fingers too. They should be pointed, at least the wings up. Oh, okay. Murinosaurus. Muraenosaurus.
Okay, so we just jumped into the water.
Practically, yep. And also much further back as well. This is a species of long-necked plesiosaur from the Jurassic of England, or specifically the shallow seas adjacent to England at this point. There also would have been different species of dinosaurs roaming the land, such as Eustreptospondylus, Cetiosaurus, possibly Omiosaurus as well.
Does that work?
Um, My issue is specifically like how the neck's twisted. It probably would not have twisted its neck like that. Now, there were different species of squids or cephalopods in general, which is the group of marine animals that the squids, as well as the shelled ammonites that the plesiosaurs also fed on, they would have been one of its main prey sources, along with smaller species of fish. Whoa, what? That's not usual. There were species of plesiosaurs further back into their evolution that were very much capable of going after other marine reptiles in the ocean. But this depiction is a bit questionable. They seem to be going after a distinct species of, I think, it's either supposed to be a younger pliosaur, which is certainly possible, especially at the time, too, or like referring to just the pliosaur itself, not them actually going after it, or possibly some other species of plesiosaur. So it has a bit of like almost a Dolichorhynchops sort of a look, but also a bit of a pliosaur as well. I don't think Marinosaurus was going after different species, even of younger pliosaurs in this instance. I mean, I might have to double check the size of their skull, but I believe it was quite small compared to their body size, and they really, if anything, would have avoided the different species of ammonites. Well, in this case, it definitely seems to be a lot larger compared to the rest of the body. I believe it is also a member of the cryptoclydid lineage of plesiosaurs back in the Middle Jurassic. So this animal, I believe, is pushing somewhere around 20 to 25 feet in length, or somewhere around 6 to 7.6 meters, and also probably weights from around 1 to 2 tons. So just likely feeding on different species of ammonites, not really going after pliosaurs, even ichthyosaurs in the ocean. So the somewhat dolphin-like marine reptiles that exist in the region and would continue until about 90 million years ago at the very beginning of the late Cretaceous and then mysteriously disappear. The plesiosaurs in general, not the cryptoclydids, they would disappear by the end of the Jurassic around 145 million years, around 145 million years ago. It's a bit of a mystery as to what had occurred. Um, okay, so we're going to give everybody, or we're going to take specifically a minute. And for anybody that has any questions about prehistoric to current animals, please put it in the chat. Okay, now it's back. Okay. So, I do want to correct myself. This specific lineage of the plesiosaurs survived actually until around 130 million years ago, not 145 million years ago, but it is a bit of a mysterious sort of an extinction, though it probably is one of those specific disappearances that we see happen in different small epochs throughout the Cretaceous as well as the Mesozoic in general. It also seems to this animal also probably didn't reach much more than 17 to 20 feet in length, so pushing around 5 to 6 meters, but likely just feeding on different species of fish and ammonites. But back to the tapijards of South America. So, however, the specimen possesses all the necessary adaptation for powered flight, such as the presence of a notarium and a developed muscle anchoring region in the arm bones. The specimen also has an unusually large crest on its chin, part of its already impressive skull ornamentation. We describe the most complete tapizar fossil from Brazil, a partially articulated skeleton of two Pandactylus navigans with soft tissue preservation. The specimen brings new insights into the anatomy of this animal and its constraints for flight, arguing for terrestrial foraging ecology. Um, Also, I think what makes this quite astounding with this tapijard in general, especially with the tissue, is that we've been seeing now and then certain tissue preservations occurring with like really some larger species of dinosaurs, like different species of hadrosaurs, certain species of smaller ceratopsians, and even in a case with certain larger carnivorous theropod species. But considering the pterosaurs recently haven't been brought up in much conversation, this is quite remarkable. I do think, however, maybe we should bring up specifically a dinosaur. I think the marine reptiles and the pterosaurs in this case need a bit of a hand. So the Bionosaurus. So Baianosaurus.
Okay, is he
It's
in
actually not
here?
a bad Tabijara. Yeah. I think it's the one towards the bottom. But actually, no. I believe it could be the one in the background.
Well, they keep
So
making it with these spikes on him.
yeah, yeah. I think specifically, I'm trying to remember exactly. Um, yeah, okay, yeah, it is him. All right, so
How many of them have those?
there's quite a number of different species of stegosaurs, like probably at least 10 species that have that type of a shoulder blade thagomizer, and also quite much more robust for some reason compared to the thagomizers at the end of their tail or their tail spikes. Also, when it comes to Bionosaur, so this animal existed over in China somewhere around 162 million years ago during the Middle Jurassic. So, not much further into the Jurassic as a different species of plesiosaur, especially the one that we were just referring to, the Marinosaurus, were inhabiting the seas adjacent to England. So this animal was pushing somewhere around 20 feet in length or maybe 6 meters. I believe it was also slightly larger, but probably also weighing somewhere around 1 to 1.5 tons, and also had, like many stegosaurs, quite a small head compared to its body size, but not as small as certain other larger species, such as a different species of stegosaurus. Also the sauropods in general. Well, that's stegosaurus itself, but stegosaurus wouldn't appear for another probably 10 million years at least. Also, Stegosaurus does not seem to have occurred over in Asia. Seems to be strictly an American over in North America, about 150, actually, probably around like 147 to 152 million years ago, depending on the species, because there were three different species of Stegosaurus.
This guy's funny looking.
He has huge shoulder blade thagomizers. Like those are massive. I mean, they look good. Also, what's interesting about this specific species of stegosaur, along with certain others in general, is that they have very small plates on the upper part of their body. And then, like many stegosaurs in general, they would become smaller as they reach the tail, but they're already quite small towards the back or the maybe the front of the caudal vertebrae or along the tail vertebrae, as you can see. And for some reason, certain species of stegosaurs have decided to evolve plates that more resemble the thagomizers along their tail, not necessarily the thagomizers existing along their shoulder blades or the elongated spikes. It is also interesting that the stegosaurs, certain species, like the
Wait a minute. Is this him or is this the Giganta?
no, it's not Gigantospinosaurus, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's not him. Um, this specific animal, what is it? Oh, so it these stegosaurs for some reason already evolved weapon traits that would resemble the later nodosaurs of the Cretaceous. Technically, the nodosaurs were already existing back in the Jurassic, and I believe we discovered one very recently from about 168 million years ago, which was slightly before the Bashanosaurus. Um, but outside of those smaller species of nodosaurs at this point, the stegosaurs evolved some of the first large, elongated spikes along their shoulder blades, but it was really just a single one along the sides of their body. We might have a certain species of stegosaur that might have had like certain smaller thagomizers along the sides of their rib cage, but for the most part, and for some mysterious reason, they decided to just simply evolve these specific weapons along the front of their body. However, and what's also odd is that when it comes to their head structure, their overall neck, it's quite vulnerable to attack. You could say they also have the four spikes at the end of their tail, so that's going to help. They're also quite flexible compared to pretty much all the other lineages of dinosaurs in general. So the theropods are going to have a much harder time in some cases, especially when working alone, bringing this animal down. And it is quite interesting. I mean, this animal, along with other stegosaurs, evolved a wide variety of weapon traits, but it still had a fairly small brain. So the question is, like, what specifically? I probably need to see if there have been any more like studies done specifically on the different parts of the brain of other stegosaurs outside of stegosaurus, but where they were focusing a lot of their thinking on, especially when it comes to balance. It seems to be a big thing. I guess we could possibly head to the next article. All right, so let's possibly travel forward in time. So, from Sci News, two new Appalachian dinosaurs discovered. I will say that the eastern United States, especially in this region, dinosaurs do occur. They're not unheard of. Especially in recent years, many other species have been popping up. Not necessarily unknown species, but species that we find much more or much further west, certain areas of the Midwest, or even areas like Texas, and then obviously into like New Mexico and Colorado. So, let's see. It's like animals such as Acrocanthosaurus or Tenontosaurus, but this might be later because those animals existed about 110 million years ago during the last 10 million years of the early Cretaceous. So, Chase Doran Brownstein from the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at Yale University and the Stanford Museum and Nature Center has described two new dinosaurs, a herbivorous hadrosaur and a carnivorous tyrannosaur that lived in the North American paleo landmass Appalachia during the late Cretaceous epoch some 85 million years ago. So it is possible that you might have had certain species of tyrannosaur, like maybe the Suski tyrannus, roam this part of the United States at this point. That's probably unlikely to an extent because they were quite cut off, especially when the Western Interior Sea had cut the continent in half. Also, especially animals like Suski tyrannus had already disappeared by 85 million years ago. They were roaming New Mexico about 90 to 92 million years ago, along with different species of There's Enosaur, Hadrosauromorphs in the region. Technically, what he means by Hadrosaur in this case is a Hadrosauromorph, not a member of Hadrosauridae. They haven't evolved yet. Also, when it comes to even ceratopsians, they're quite rare at this point. There was Zuniceratops, but he has disappeared at this time period. So this is very mysterious. I have a feeling. Oh well. Okay, we found part of the ankle bone, I believe, most of the ankle bone of the Tyrannosaur, a little bit of the caudal vertebrae or slice of part of the tail, as well as the bottom jaw of the Hadrosauromorph, as well as the what is that? The upper shoulder blade. A little bit of the humerus or the upper arm bone, and as well like a complete femur bone or a complete thigh bone, and I think part of the pelvis, like the bottom part of the pelvis, and then a little bit of the shin. And then we have a baby too, it seems. So that's really good to see. So for most of the, I think we found what part of his skull and a rib. So for most of the second half of the Cretaceous period, North America was divided into two land masses, Laramidia in the west and Appalachia in the east, with the western interior seaway separating them. While famous dinosaur species like Tyrannosaurus rex and Triceratops lived throughout Laramidia, they lived in different parts of the United States, possibly entering Canada. Triceratops prorsus, not Triceratops horridus.
Wait, what's Laramidia?
Laramidia is, well, it consists of Asia, Europe, and North America. But so far, it seems to be that T Rex is really just roaming North America. We don't have much evidence for him really being down in Mexico, different parts of Canada, and really Alaska.
Wait, you're saying we don't have much evidence, or we don't have any evidence?
Okay, yeah, we don't have any evidence for him roaming Mexico, Canada, or Alaska. There were certain instances that there were claims that there were other, like, Tyrannosaurus species existing over in Mexico, but, there's been a lot of disagreements on that. Now, I'll have to do further in-depth research into what's going on with those specific specimens that have been discovered over in Mexico. But it seems to be, at least for Canada, there really isn't any evidence for T Rex existing in the region. There were earlier Tyrannosaurs. Okay. It's a bit blank here. Oh, okay. So I guess let's bring up a species of sauropod.
What's a bit blank?
Just there aren't any creatures on the screen. So Hobaria. So Jobaria.
Why is it pronounced like Spanish?
Um, maybe I don't know if a Spanish scientist discovered him. So this is a species of sauropod somewhat related to the Shunosaurs or the Eusauropods of the Jurassic. So this was around 167 million years ago, back in Niger or northern Africa at this point. And it also contains a lot of features similar to the Shunosaurus, but I don't believe there's evidence for this animal consisting of a club spiked like tail, which is what you would find in different species of the Eusauropods, such as, I believe, Omyosaurus and Shunosaurus. But it
Okay,
would just simply be a club at the end of their tail.
this is kind of funny because here he's in a forest, and now he's stuck in the ocean.
Yeah, he does seem to be near the coast, so maybe it was just a big wave and he decided to go for a bit of a surf. I will say something though. There were no dolphins at this point. Dolphins won't evolve
That's
until
funny.
much later into the Cenozoic era. I need to double check on when dolphins first, like very bottlenose looking dolphins, when they first evolved. Technically, we already had majorly toothed dolphins back in the Miocene over 23 million years ago. Well, this is an interesting depiction. So, Joe Barrier was one of the larger species of sauropods at this point in the Jurassic, and especially over in northern Africa. I also think when it comes to northern Africa, a lot of the time, more attention tends to be put on species of sauropods from like the later early Cretaceous, so pushing around like 105 to 110 million years ago.
Is that
Though
even possible?
I could be a bit off. I think he's a bit thin. Yeah. Also, walking, not. Uh, well, hmm. Actually, is a good question. It's probably unlikely. They definitely could rear up on their hind legs to reach higher up into the conifers, or if they were fighting one another. So there would be two hobarias at this point, like it's during the breeding season or the rut, and they're trying to injure each other with their thumb claws, which could cause a lot of flesh wounds.
Okay, what's with this guy's legs?
Oh gosh, yeah, he's definitely got issues. I guess something that could be somewhat similar in morphology would be like a Camarasaurus, but even then, Camarasaurus was very, uh, it's somewhat matched with its overall physiology, not like this.
Tetris Cola is in and said pizza. I guess he's back on the Tapijara?
Um, Pizza. Oh, right. Yeah, when it came to the crested species, well, several crested species of pterosaurs. Yeah, the crest in some depictions kind of just reminds me of a pizza. And yeah, preferably no pineapple. I mean, you know what? It's fine. Just make sure you add the ham and, extra cheese. But besides that, also don't give like pterosaurs any pizza because they're lactose intolerant. But besides that, that won't evolve until much later in time. Yeah, so the Hobari in general. Also, we need to go to the better looking
Hold on.
one of the better looking drawings. This thing is kind of hideous. So, let's see, what is it? Well, that's better. When it comes to these types of models, this actually isn't bad, especially for a Hobari EU sauropod. So, the Hobari could reach probably somewhere around 60 feet in length. They're pushing somewhere around 17 to 18 meters and probably weigh up to 25 to 27 tons. Though, however, there might have been a recent estimate with the animal where it only reached somewhere around 52 feet in length or pushing somewhere around what? I think that would be around 15 to 16 meters and having a weight of somewhere between 15 to 20 tons. Still massive for the time, but it might have ranged between the two sizes. Um, do you think the feet of this individual, which are not present, might be a bit small, especially towards the front legs? But it really isn't bad, especially when it comes to skull structure of this animal. It's also a bit similar to like the Volcanodon, which was another earlier species of Eusauropod that existed in um possibly Gondwana, so one of the southern continents, somewhere around 170 million years ago.
Why are the legs on all these things so thin?
I thought there were certain other depictions beforehand where they were a bit wider in diameter. Yeah, I see a bit thin here.
Yeah, a lot of them I'm finding.
Who's attacking the Hobari in this instance? I don't know what species of theropod this, or at least the three could be. And also, when it comes to that pterosaur, I'm not sure if he had evolved yet. Yeah, I'd say you could say that the leg structure in this instance might be slightly more matching, but they could be a bit leaner. Certain types of sauropods, especially when you look at different types of titanosaurs a bit later on, would have a somewhat leg structure like this, but this would be with the very dense bone species of macroninians, but not probably with the Jobariae. It was a lot leaner. I would say though, also apparently when it comes to the tail construction of or the tail morphology of this animal, it's not as flexible as certain other species of diplodocids, like, for say, Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus. It's a bit stiffer, but not as stiff as certain species like Brachiosaurus, Sauroposeidon, and Giraffatitan. But also, many of those species still have yet to evolve. So it's not surprising. It is a relatively well built species of sauropod for this point in the Jurassic. Okay. Let's head back to the article. You're over in sauropods. So, one reason, so that they discovered supposedly a couple of not sauropodomorphs, hadrosauromorph specimens and a um, fragment of a tail vertebrae of a certain mysterious tyrannosaur. So one reason is that Laramidia's geographic conditions, this is referring to North America, Europe, and Asia, but especially North America, were more conducive to the formation of sediment-rich fossil beds than Appalachia's, said Brownstein, author of a paper published in the journal Royal Society Open Science. The specimens he examined were collected in the 1970s. Once again, one of these circumstances. It's okay, but I really thought that they just found it recently. From the late Cretaceous Merchantville Formation in New Jersey and Delaware, these specimens illuminate certain mysteries in the fossil record of eastern North America and help us better understand how geographic isolation affected the evolution of dinosaurs. The paleontologist examined a partial skeleton of a large predatory theropod, concluding that it is probably a tyrannosaur. He noted that the fossil shares several features in its hind limbs with Dryptosaurus, a tyrannosaur that lived about 67 million years ago in what is now New Jersey. Yeah, Dryptosaurus tends to be left out of many conversations for the late Cretaceous. It's like Nanotyrannosaurus will pop up, but he's like, hey, what? I'm here too. I'm in the East. I get it, but I think it's because now Tyrannus, T Rex, they're over in Montana, South Dakota, the big hot spots for a lot of different late Cretaceous species of dinosaurs. And also when it comes to the late Jurassic. Late Jurassic is more of like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, even New Mexico to an extent. Then you have it where places like Texas, North Carolina, Oklahoma, it seemed to be a bit bigger for like early Cretaceous sediments.
Is that him?
Yep, that is Dryptosaurus. He has some of the largest forearms when it comes to medium-sized species of tyrannosaurs compared to his body size. They are massive, very likely of helping the animal take down other prey items. So this specific species of tyrannosaur, I believe, was somewhere between or somewhere around 20 feet in length, or pushing 6 meters, and probably weighed a little more than a ton. And was, what
It came up
happened?
under Dryptosaurus.
Okay, so this is one of the depictions of probably Jurassic England, I'm guessing, from the 1820s or the 1830s. And I think what has happened, and this creature has become a bit more sneaky at it, is that Megalosaurus wanted to show up because I was talking about mid Jurassic England. So he's like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm the icon. So, yeah, Megalosaurus, well, he's gone now. Um, we'll come back to him later. Okay, so Dryptosaurus. I'm wondering if I might be underestimating the size of it. It could be like 20 to 30 feet in length because he's taking out a Pachycephalosaurus in this instance, which is pushing. No, it could be a younger one, but Pachycephalosaurus, the megacephalian species of carnivorous dinosaur in this instance, used to be theorized as being an herbivore. But whoa, okay, now Allosaurus is showing up. Um, I don't believe I was referring to the late Jurassic outside of Stegosaurus. I mentioned Stegosaurus and he pops up. So this is a Charles R. Knight depiction of two Allosaurus fighting each other. I mean, I think it looks really good. It definitely shows them as being extremely agile, but maybe a bit too jumpy. Um, but I bet Jurassic Fight Club probably approves of it. I think it's a good depiction, but it's just a little exaggerated. The joke is that Jurassic Fight Club, the show from the early 2000s, was depicting allosaurs, technically jumping up in the air and um, too confidently against a chimaerosaurus. However, the chimaerosaur was stuck in the mud. But besides that, what was I talking about? I think we went for the megalosaurus because I mentioned,
You mentioned Dryptosaurus, so I started pulling Dryptosaurus.
yeah, mid Jurassic dinosaurs from England because megalosaurus is from 170 million-year-old England.
They're jumping in every picture.
And yeah, practically the first dinosaur discovered and confirmed. What? Oh, I see what happened here. They took the Allosaur picture from Charles R. Knight and decided to put it with Dryptosaurus, which is fine. I mean, I think it looks really good. But wow, they're definitely making this Tyrannosaur extremely deadly. Yeah, it has some powerful forelimbs, but even the feet. I mean, these animals, along with the larger species of Tyrannosaurs, could pin their prey down. So whether it's another species of theropod, could be even a certain crocodilomorph, or it's one of the hadrosaurs, or in this case, no, it'd be hadrosaurs at this point. It's at the very end of the Cretaceous. Ceratopsians, maybe a younger sauropod. But yeah, I think that's also a really good reconstruction with the Dryptosaurus. That one, actually, I don't think that might have been a Dryptosaurus. Its arms are very small compared to its body size. This is a lot better. It is interesting. It almost has like a bit of an Albertosaurus sort of a look to it, especially when it comes to its skull structure and the distinct horns. It doesn't really resemble animals like T Rex or Tarbosaurus, despite existing much later into the Cretaceous. It's even a bit different from like Ninquenosaurus over in Alaska or Nanukosaurus. Yeah. I might have been confusing it with uh Gazanosaurus possibly, but Gazanosaurus is still quite different from Dryptosaurus. But this was definitely one of the most powerful predators to evolve, I'd say, even for its body size, just throughout the Mesozoic era in general, but especially the late Cretaceous. Okay, so it was almost like a Megaraptor to an extent, in just terms of how specialized, not I wouldn't even say specialized, just well equipped in weaponry. It did, you could say, sacrifice a bit of like the bone crushing ability that you would find in larger species of tyrannosaurs, even a bit further back in time. Okay. So the dinosaur had different hands and feet than Tyrannosaurus rex, including massive claws on its forelimbs, suggesting that it represents a distinct family of the predators that evolved solely in Appalachia. Many people believe that all tyrannosaurs must have evolved a specific set of features to become apex predators. Our fossil suggests they evolved into giant predators in a variety of ways as it lacks key foot or hand features that one would associate with Western North American or Asian tyrannosaurs. Okay, if it's talking about this specific mysterious tyrannosaur at this point, which would not be Dryptosaurus, um, considering it's 85 million years ago, I don't know how much of a reference we could make of this animal, considering we just found a caudal vertebrae or a single tail vertebrae. I'm like, what are you going to say about this tyrannosaur? It had extraordinary good balance. The partial skeleton of the hadrosaur provided important new information on the evolution of the shoulder girdle in that group of dinosaurs. Um, well, that's not a lot of info, but okay. The hadrosaur fossils, I mean, obviously we can see that it's along the shoulder, or is the shoulder. Hadrosaur fossils also provide one of the best records of this group from east of the Mississippi and include some of the only infant and or perinate dinosaur fossils found in this region. That I found a bit interesting. They didn't go a bit further into depth with. The fact that we found a younger hadrosaur individual, hadrosaur morph. So, that was definitely extraordinary. I still think we should bring up another dinosaur. Um, hmm. Yeah, sure. Let's bring up maybe a species of. I don't know. I think maybe we should stick to the herbivores. Tangveosaurus. So Tang VAYS. Oh, he showed up. Um, the problem with this reconstruction is that the neck of um Tengvaosaurus should be a bit longer and I think a bit more narrow compared to its body size. Also, I think the head is probably a little too long, maybe a bit shorter in overall length. I don't think the legs are necessarily bad.
I don't know how
Um,
this got in there.
form might be okay. Um, yeah. Who do we have here? Like a very oddly depicted iguanodon. He's skinny. Actually, that's not iguanodon. That's a later species of iguanodontid. Um, oh gosh, that specific group they did have this type of like an elongated skull structure. And also, when it comes to their back feet, they're a little too theropod-like. That is not like an iguanodontid. And even the forefeet are given very distinct finger like a morphological structure. And it should be almost like a hoof. And the thumb spike's barely visible. You would not have a very early 2010s Spinosaur, creeping from below the water.
Oh, here it is.
Hmm.
Hold on. I have double picture.
Yeah, I'd say. Oh, wait a second. Have we found the skull of this specific species of animal? Oh, maybe we haven't. I just confused it with another member of like the Macroninian sauropods. But yeah, we definitely have the upper arm bone or the humerus. We have a complete femur bone, possibly the entire pelvis. A major part of it. Wow. That is, yeah, really good to see. I guess I forgot about that because I remember seeing the tail vertebrae, completely intact, or specifically that caudal vertebrae. That's also not very common when it comes to a wide variety of different species of sauropods, especially ones coming from the early Cretaceous of Argentina around 120 million years ago during the Aptian stage of the Cretaceous. It is a smaller species of sauropod, probably not reaching much more than 49 feet in length or pushing around 15 meters, and still probably weighed maybe around 11 to 15 tons. So, for its length, it wasn't necessarily lightweight, but it just wasn't extremely long. You would have a wide variety of different species of sauropod dinosaurs in different parts of North America at this point, also becoming much larger. Even certain areas of Asia, Africa, and South America too. They eventually would become much larger, dwarfing this specific species. But likely when it came to,
I
I
can't
forgot.
find much on him,
Yeah, there's a single rib bone. Yeah, it is odd with Tangvaosaurus.
especially considering there's so much of him that's been found.
Yeah, three of the back vertebrae, or four possibly. Also a single cervical vertebrae or towards the bottom of the neck. Let's see. What's another thing? Oh yeah, also toes, like the complete shin bone, something else. So this animal was likely feeding on different species of conifers in the different forests of Argentina at this point in the Cretaceous, and may have occasionally fed on different species of shrubs, but conifers were probably the main part of its diet. And it likely might have come into contact with different species of megaraptorids as predators, especially also different species of carcharodontosaurs and earlier abelisaurids at this point. Tabijarids, earlier species, have probably coexisted with, but if anything, they may have perched on its back, but that was probably unlikely. I mean, pterosaurs would have a lot of trouble hanging on to a moving sauropod. Many cases, impossible. Okay, well, this was a bit mysterious, but still good to see. I mean, 85 million years ago, in many cases, when it comes to the United States, is a big mysterious gap in time when it comes to dinosaurs. A lot of the time, it's just fragmentary remains, really due to the Western Interior Sea causing these issues. But we find a wide variety of different species of mosasaurs, long-necked plesiosaurs existing in the different parts of Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma.
Wait, are there short neck plesiosaurs?
Yes.
Oh,
And in some cases, they were probably taking on not necessarily more defensive game or like smaller, maybe like certain pliosaurs in some instances or other plesiosaurs, but maybe just going after certain other types of fish or ammonites that the other species would not. So let's head forward to the Cenozoic era. From the Times of India, scientists have filmed a rare 125 million-year-old goblin shark alive in its natural deep sea habitat for the first time, revealing a new depth record in a wider Pacific range. Well, this is definitely quite mysterious. Well, no, I wouldn't say mysterious, just remarkable. I think it's because it mentioned it's been around since the early Cretaceous. Why can't I? Oh, there's the blurry picture. Come on. Well,
well, that doesn't help.
there he is. Not
Yeah.
yeah, not too visible. He seems healthy. They always have this type of like a fat look to them. I don't know why. For the first time, scientists have filmed live goblin sharks swimming freely in their natural deep sea habitat, giving researchers a glimpse of one of the world's rarest and most mysterious sharks without removing it from the ocean. The discovery also pushed the known depth limit for the species from around 1,200 meters to nearly 2,000 meters. What is that? 5 to 6,000 feet below sea level, extending its recognized range by almost 700 meters, or pushing 2,100 feet or so, and expanding its known distribution across the Pacific Ocean. I guess that's really good to see when it comes to this creature. Trying to. There we go. So the findings were published in the Journal of Fish Biology and were led by a research team from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. The study describes two separate encounters with healthy goblin sharks, Mytsocarina austoni, marking the first confirmed observations of the species alive in its natural environment. Until now, every verified sighting or video of a live goblin shark had come only after the animal had been accidentally caught by fishing gear and brought to the surface. Yeah, it's annoying when that happens, or quite unfortunate. Although scientists and divers were able to observe the sharks briefly, the animals usually died soon afterwards. Oh, okay. I thought he was talking about the one deep underwater, not just caught. That's unfortunate. Shows how sensitive they are. And I mean that in like um, like that's kind of an issue that we have with many species of animals. You take them out of their specific needs or away from it, like in this case with the goblin shark, and they simply can't survive after the intense shock. I mean, it's not supposed to be out of the water.
Okay, Adrian Rojo said, "I eat dirt," and Tetris Cola said, "I eat dirt."
Well, that's a big step away from pizza. It's how you grow the pizza. Um, okay. Let's see. Is there anything else? So
Yeah, there was one. Oh, was that it?
the latest observations changed that picture entirely by. Wait a second here. Okay. So one goblin shark was spotted near a seamount close to Jarvis Island in the central Pacific, while the second was recorded along the slope of the Tonga Trench. There are many deep sea trenches around the world. It's quite astonishing. So two encounters hundreds of kilometers apart. Okay, is there anything else? Oh, so they are often referred to as living fossils. These goblin sharks are the only surviving members of a shark family that dates back around 125 million years. Their distinctive long, flattened snout and protruding jaws have made them one of the most recognizable deep sea sharks, yet they have remained hidden because of the extreme depths at which they live. The two sightings also suggest goblin sharks occupy a much larger area of the Pacific than scientists previously believed. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of research when it comes to goblin sharks. I guess I. Uh, oh, whoa! What's going on here? Is this another one? Hmm. Yeah, this guy.
Why are they so blurry?
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that the cameras would be quite,
Here, you're saying the cameras are better in the '70s than they are today?
yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, let's see what else is going on. So the Tonga Trench encounter proved to be significant because it established a new depth record for the species. Seeing the most iconic of all the deep sea sharks alive and looking healthy in its natural habitat is a unique honor, said Aaron Judah, lead author of the paper and doctoral candidate working in the Deep Sea Fish Ecology Lab and Deep Sea Animal Research Center in the Department of Oceanography at the UH Manoa School of Ocean and Earth Science and Technology. He added, I was also very surprised about how deep this species was found. The observation from the slope of the Tonga Trench is nearly 700 meters deeper than the species was known to live. So Judah said the discovery goes beyond goblin sharks alone. The Tonga Trench observation also sets a new depth record for the entire order. I mixed lamniformis with order. Order of Lamniformis, commonly known as the mackerel sharks. This group includes well known species such as the great white shark, basking shark, and mako shark. I don't believe it includes the larger shark of the Pliocene and Miocene epoch, the Ototus megalodon. One of the study's most surprising discoveries actually came from footage that had been sitting in an archive for years. Actually, I might have to correct that. I might just mix it up with like the genus because some people might see megalodon as being like very closely related or just another large species great white shark. But the great white shark's genus is Carcharodon, whereas megalodon it's Ototus. But I believe they both do belong to this giant order of fish. So the first sighting emerged after Judah spoke with colleagues at DARC in 2025. They mentioned that a possible goblin shark had appeared in video recorded during a 2019 Ocean Exploration Trust expedition aboard the exploration vessel EV Nautilus. They named it after a cephalopod. They exist today. Probably the closest living thing to an ammonite. The expedition explored deep sea ecosystems around Kingman Reef, Palmyra Atoll, and Jarvis Island within the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument. I was shocked to hear this because this species was not to be known to be in the Central Pacific. And in case for those that don't know where the Pacific is, it is between Western North America and Eastern Asia, and also just to west of Australia. So let's see. Anything else? So the expedition used the remotely operated vehicle Hercules to explore the seabed while recording extensive video footage. Researchers at the University of Hawaii later archived and annotated the recordings for public access. After carefully reviewing the footage, Judah confirmed that one of the videos captured during a live stream at an unnamed seamount northwest of Jarvis Island had indeed recorded a goblin shark swimming in its, guessing, natural habitat. Let's see. So the finding meant the first confirmed wild observation had actually been waiting in archived footage for several years before being recognized. Oh, well, that's some odd news. So researchers received even stronger evidence during a separate expedition 5 years later. The second goblin shark was filmed during a 2024 expedition to the Tonga Trench aboard the research vessel RV Dagon. The voyage formed part of the Inkfish Open Ocean Expedition led by scientists from the UWA Deep Sea Research Center. Instead of using a remotely operated vehicle, researchers deployed a baited camera attached to a bottom lander resting on the sea floor. The camera captured clear footage of another goblin shark swimming freely in the deep ocean. Okay, so the goblin shark is one of these deep sea charismatic animals that I never thought we'd see alive. And then to do so was amazing, but to then learn that colleagues in Hawaii also saw one was just incredible, said Alan Jameson, professor and founding director at Minderu UWA Deep Sea Research Center and co author of the study, who documented the 2024 sighting. Having two independent observations from different locations gave researchers confidence that the species' known distribution needs to be revised. Um, huh. Okay, well, that's probably a bit of older footage. Um, okay, so before these discoveries, goblin sharks had been recorded only from relatively limited parts of the Pacific Ocean, mainly off Japan, Australia, and the western United States. They were also known from scattered locations in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The two new sightings from the Central Pacific extend the shark's recognized range and suggest the species may be more widespread than previously thought. That could influence future conversation planning. It's kind of a bit challenging with the conservation when they're this rare. So, well, yeah, we don't know
How
we
do you
don't really,
protect something you never see?
yeah, that too. Judah said recognizing the shark's presence in regions where it was previously unknown allows it to be included in local biodiversity records and management plans. It is really important that we still perform natural history work. They added new discoveries like this demonstrates, okay, I think it's just being a bit repetitive. That might be it. No. Okay. So the study also shows the value of revisiting archived scientific data without researchers taking another look at video collected during the 2019 EV Nautilus expedition. The first wild goblin shark sighting might have remained unnoticed. Okay. I think that's being pretty repetitive. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, it's just good to hear about the goblin sharks. So, thanks for joining. And from Prehistoric's Presence, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy and Live Daily News. Happy International. Let's see. Maybe we'll just do Hobarier Sauropod Day. And remember, and nothing's better than all animals all the time.